VP Kamala Harris. Sean Logging talked to some of those delegates from Wichita today. Sean?
Like Rachel, a lot to be figured out still, and an important note on process: until the Democratic Party delegates meet and formally nominate a candidate, there isn't really officially a president and VP for the November ballot for that party. Until yesterday, President Biden was the presumptive nominee, and while this is typically a formality, now we saw this process play out last week with the Republican Party. With months to go before voters decide who will reside in the White House next year, the delegates who will decide the Democratic Party's ticket see a drastic change as President Joe Biden withdraws his re-election bid.
Historic. I never dreamed that, this process would be kind of tossed in the air and reshuffled.
Kansas will send 39 delegates and 3 alternates to the Democratic National Convention next month in Chicago. Some of those I spoke with processing the president's announcement Sunday. It followed mounting calls by leaders within his own party to step aside.
I was shocked, but I am compassionate and understand his reasons why.
Transformational president and leader for our country. And he has moved the needle and then some.
While there's reflection on the past, there's a quick adjustment to the future, as the party now needs to figure out a process to formally select the party's nominee.
Everyone is waiting to hear about the next steps in the process and what the rules will be.
Brock Booker hoping to see what he calls an open and transparent process, not yet endorsing a candidate. Others are following President Biden and supporting VP Kamala Harris, like Chris Pompelli.
I'm excited when I see my fellow Democrats lining up behind the vice president so swiftly. People are excited.
As the focus is clearly on November and making their party's case to voters.
Vice President Kamala Harris is a serious person, unlike Donald Trump.
According to the Democratic Party rules, 1,976 delegates is the threshold that needs to be crossed in order to obtain the party's nomination. It is currently unclear if there will be any other candidates challenging VP Harris to be the party's nominee.
Sean, thank you. Republican Vice Presidential